Don't count on it. It's a little more possible that Trump could fall back a little bit if some of these states cut the way of Ted Cruz, or in Ohio, of course, John Kasich. An outside chance that Marco Rubio could pull something out in Florida, but seems very remote at this point. On Clinton's side, Bernie Sanders is really banking everything on a strong showing in a state like Ohio, where he, too, is trailing in the polls, but at the same time, too, had great success in Michigan and is really hoping that things are going to tighten up and really be close and maybe even propel him forward.
This week, Trump has been attacked by just about everyone. His Republican rivals, Democrats, now super PACs, new ads out. There's been backlash to this violence that happened at his rallies Friday into the weekend, accusations that he's been inciting violence. The question tonight for you, are those anti-Trump messages producing actual results? Are they impacting his poll numbers?
Not enough at this point as far as the super PACs are concerned, and there's been a whole constellation of Republican groups who have been going after Donald and Trump with everything that they've pretty much got. We're talking millions upon millions of dollars, and over the past few weeks, tens of thousands of television ads and other messages right at the heart of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's still the leader right now, and going into tomorrow, he'll probably still be the leader in delegates. What they're trying to do right now is slow Donald Trump. They're trying to throw up a firewall. They're doing everything that they possibly can to make sure that Donald Trump is slowed down right now and ultimately does not have enough delegates going into July into the Republican National Convention to secure the nomination prior to the convention taking place. It's a tall order at this point, but if you're Ted Cruz or John Kasich or Marco Rubio, it may be the best shot that you've got at this point.
Speaking of Kasich and Rubio, Florida and Ohio, two pivotal states, home states of Rubio and Kasich. The fact that Trump has been so successful, so competitive, even in those states, no matter who wins tonight or what the margin of victory is, doesn't that just show the Republicans that he's the inevitable nominee?
Donald Trump sure thinks he's the inevitable nominee, but at the same time, too, it's a long slog here, as we well know. So if ultimately John Kasich pulls it out in Ohio, if a couple of other candidates are able to do pretty well and gobble up some delegates today, and Donald Trump doesn't really make a big move forward, we're going to be having a conversation tomorrow of, all right, well, is Donald Trump inevitable? The answer will be no. And the question will then be, well, is a contested convention inevitable? And the answer may be getting closer and closer to yes. So that's going to be really the big question that everyone's going to be talking about for the rest of this week, is ultimately a contested convention where we don't know who the nominee is going into July, going to be really what we're looking at, and that nobody can get the nomination prior to it.
You mentioned how last week Senator Sanders posted this surprise win in Michigan. What happens if he actually is able to pull off another upset in Missouri, Illinois, even Ohio tonight? Could Clinton shrug that off like she seemed to have done in the past, or would she really need to recalibrate?
It's getting more and more difficult for Bernie Sanders because on the Democratic side, of course, you have this binary race with Clinton and Sanders. It's not a four-way race where one candidate here and another candidate there can collect delegates and keep the front runner from getting the preponderance of delegates. So for Bernie Sanders, really his strategy is moving to not a, well, can I win a big state outright, but where can I get delegates anywhere? He's had a lot of success in the Midwest. He's hoping to have more success there, and also the Pacific Northwest. He's done well in caucuses. So as he goes forward and stays in the race, if ultimately he does for the long haul, look for Bernie Sanders to look at those types of contests to scoop up delegates and try to stay competitive the best he can. One thing to note on the Democratic side, which is much more of a factor on the Democratic side than the Republican side, is a notion of super delegates, these sort of free agent delegates who don't get won or lost in individual states. They pretty much can go ahead, go to the convention and vote for whomever they choose. And Bernie Sanders has many fewer of them than Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has probably a 7, 8, 9 to 1 advantage over there, and they can vote for whoever they want to.
I mentioned a moment ago the violence at the Trump events. There was this altercation at one of his rallies in North Carolina last week. Today, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office announced it will not press charges against Donald Trump for inciting a riot. Legal counsel told the sheriff there was not enough evidence for that. It does beg the question, though, Dave, what if they did charge him? What if he did face some type of legal action? Would that have any impact on his presidential run, do you think? Or do you think this would just galvanize more support for him?
it would definitely have an effect on his presidential run were he to be charged, and it's a tall order for that to happen, which is probably why it didn't. You do have to have a heck of a lot of evidence, and he is a presidential candidate leading on the Republican side, so other sensibilities there as well. But this is going to be an issue that's not going to go away anytime soon. Violence at rallies, Donald Trump being somebody who, in the eyes of even some Republicans, is egging people on to be violent, to do things that they think is uncouth for a presidential candidate. At the same time, too, Donald Trump is saying, look, I'm not in charge of all 20,000 people at my rally. If you have some bad eggs, you have some bad eggs. But on the Republican side, you're going to have these super PACs that support Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or John Kasich or anyone but Donald Trump going after Donald Trump on this very issue and trying to point out, in their opinion, that Donald Trump is not somebody who they want or America wants representing the Republican Party or the country. Yet there are a lot of people who feel differently about that as well.
Before you go, give us a sense of what's on the horizon with the upcoming primaries later in March and into April. What are the issues that we're going to be talking more about? What are the demographics of those voters?
We're going to be talking about a Republican civil war, which is already underway and could potentially only get worse as things go on. If it's still up in the air as to whether Donald Trump will be the nominee, you're going to have more money, you're going to have more voices, you're going to have more discord, and ultimately you're going to have more confusion and chaos leading up to the summer, when ultimately the Republicans are going to have to decide who is going to run against who will likely be Hillary Clinton. So this is going to be a major theme that is being written right now, but the story won't be written in full until many months from now.
You don't see talk of unity until late summer?
It may be a long time.
Okay, Dave Levinthal, senior political reporter at the Center for Public Integrity. Thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you, Mike.